Welcome into the 2025 playoff scenarios. It's that time of year again. This year, instead of hand doing the playoff scenarios by hand, I wrote some code to have this outputted, which not only was much easier, but also will give us a little bit more insight. So let's start reading this thing. So up here is all the Week 12 matchups, and in each row is a separate scenario, and in each cell is the winner of that game. So, for example, for scenario 1, leftist tiers would beat, no pun intended, the red carpets would beat the stoners, and so on. And if all of those things happen, then these will be the seeds outputted from that scenario. Now, this only gives you the best possible seed that you can get because, as you can see here, there's two seeds. That's because the red carpets and Gumpy Glizzies are tied in that scenario, and so they could get the 2 seed. So that's the highest seed. One of those teams will be the 3 seed, but the best seed that they can get is the 2 seed. So in this tiebreaker scenario for the 2 and 3 seed, if you hover over, it will show the tiebreaker scenario. So the tiebreaker versus Gumpy Glizzies for the red carpets. The red carpets currently leads by 9 tiebreaker points. Those tiebreaker points are the wins versus all. So however many wins you have versus all the teams for every week. So with the red carpets having 9 tiebreaker points, that means the red carpets would need to either score more than Gumpy Glizzies or not be outscored by more than 8 tiebreaker points to put 8 teams between them. So in this specific scenario, actually, Gumpy Glizzies would need to be the highest scoring team of the week, and the red carpets would need to be the lowest scoring team of the week. And then they would tie on tiebreaker points. If you tie on tiebreaker points, that goes to points for. I don't know what that looks like right now. But in this scenario, the red carpets would be getting the 2 seed unless Gumpy Glizzies scores the highest and the red carpets score the lowest, and Gumpy Glizzies has that points for tiebreaker since it would be a tie on those wins versus all. Same thing happens here for seed 7 and 8 between the Stoners and Steel Curtain. So in this scenario for the Stoners, they currently lead Steel Curtain by 6 tiebreaker points. So they would need to either beat Steel Curtain in week 12 or not be outscored by more than 5 tiebreaker points. So they would have to have Steel Curtain put 4 or less teams between them in the points for week 12 in the standings just for week 12 in wins versus all there. You can also see that that in this scenario, no pun intended, the Scoop the Delinquent are tied with the 4 seed, but there is no tiebreaker scenario. That's because there's only 2 teams tied for the 4 seed, and with our playoff structure, the 4 and the 5 seed are the exact same. And so it doesn't matter who's 4 and 5. So in that scenario, like if no pun intended is 5, Scoop Delinquent's 4, that's the same thing as Scoop Delinquent being 5 and no pun intended being 4. So there's no tiebreaker scenario there. And then there are some scenarios where it gets into a 3-way tie, but in this scenario, like scenario number 2 here, leftist tiers would have a tiebreaker versus the red carpets and Gumpy Glizzies, but in this scenario, Gumpy Glizzies can only get up to seed 2 because they cannot possibly win the tiebreaker versus leftist tiers. So leftist tiers would only be fighting for the 1 seed with the red carpets, and in the scenario that leftist tiers gets the 1 seed and the red carpets get the or don't get the 1 seed, then the red carpets would be fighting for Gumpy Glizzies for the 2 seed. So that's why there is no 1 for Gumpy Glizzies here, and there's no description on how they can beat leftist tiers in the tiebreaker. Remember that for our our playoff structure, 1 and 2 play for the right to, in week 13, for the right to pick their semifinal opponent. So being 1 or 2 is the exact same. 3 is on its own. They have a bye week 13, waiting for the semifinals to start. 4 and 5 play a play-in game week 13. Winner goes to the semifinals, but 4 and 5 are the exact same. 7 and 6 play a playoff game, a play-in game. Loser goes to the last place semifinals. Winner's season is over. They're safe from last place. And then 8, 9, and 10 are sitting, waiting week 13 for the last place semifinals to start in week 14. So as you can see, you can go through all of the tiebreaker scenarios just by hovering and seeing what you need. In this specific case, like in redraft specific case, as you can see by the color code, we already have our 5 playoff teams. How those playoff teams see themselves, we don't necessarily know yet, but Leftist Tears, the Red Carpets, Gumpy Glizzies, no pun intended, and Scoob the Delinquent will be playing for the championship this year in redraft. That is set. We can go, now that we know how to read it, we can also go over to Dynasty. Dynasty is pretty clear cut on the 1-2. Stratton Inc. has the 1, Senior Raccoon 74 has the 2. There are possibilities for teams to make and miss the playoffs, unlike redraft. So for I Am They, if they get into a tiebreaker with Gump Dynasty, they trail by 3 tiebreaker points. So they would need to put 3 teams between them and Gump Dynasty this week, including Gump Dynasty losing and I Am They winning. So I Am They has to win, Gump Dynasty has to lose, and then I Am They also has to put 3 teams between them, beating Gump Dynasty in points for week 12 to win the tiebreaker. Prestige Worldwide also has a chance if that same scenario happens, but Prestige Worldwide beats I Am They, but they trail by 8 tiebreaker points to Gump Dynasty, so they would need to be the highest scorer of the week, and Gump Dynasty would need to be the lowest scorer, so that's highly improbable. But yes, and then the Scoob Empire, Touchdown My Pants, Bells on Your Shin are all eliminated from playoff contention. Stratton Oakmont Inc., Sneezer Raccoon 74, Nico's Dream Team, Cumber Dynasty already locked in. Gump Dynasty still has a little bit of work to do, but they should be in. And then I Am They and Prestige Worldwide with very slim shots sitting on the outside looking in. I will probably get some percentages out. Assuming every game is 50-50, we'll see what we can get some percentages on what seed you get. But yeah, other than that, I will send this file in the chat to make sure everyone has access to it, and you can scroll through all your playoff scenarios, figure out who you need to win, other than yourself, obviously. And yeah, there's the playoff scenarios for this year, fellas. Good luck in week 12.